The climate of America, a change in the position of the Supreme Court where they have all but dismantled affirmative action programs, and you had these so-called anti-affirmative action Supreme Court decisions, you know, and a president whose name I don't want to call, who talked about a quota bill, you know, all kinds of rationales in order to deter and to obstruct the free access of every American to everything all other Americans.
Maybe President-elect Clinton, I will call his name,
yes,
will have a different point of view and will take a stronger stand.
Well, he's made an important statement today or yesterday that the Haitians, whom the gentleman whose name I don't want to mention, turned away, that they will be received.
Maybe he can take the leadership then in starting us off on the right track in fighting against racism in this country, as we fought against Jim Crow years ago.
Let me ask a stickler question here. Do you think that gentleman, Ronald Reagan, whose name you don't want to mention, do you think he did not reflect the country he led?
Reagan, no, he pretty much reflected the country he led, because he made, in my view, he made racism popular in America.
Legitimate,
legitimate and popular. I mean, it was the way to be. And it is because he was so isolated from what was going on in race relations in America. He was supremely naive and or ignorant for a sitting president on matters of race.
And he took the guilt and the shame out of being racist. Now it's all right, people to be racist. Maybe we can turn that around with a new president.
The leadership, then, is what you're saying. Was it the kind of leadership, remember that night before we met, Kennedy's speech? There was such a high moral quality to that.
Yes, and you must remember not only that speech, but the speech that John Kennedy made in January, when he said very clearly that we didn't need any more civil rights legislation, that they were sufficient. And it was our movement which turned John Kennedy around.
It was Birmingham, specifically.
Birmingham specifically turned him around on the matter of the need for new civil rights legislation.
The King and Wyatt Walker demonstrations in Birmingham.
We had a lot of help, Jim. You were there with us with your troops as well. It was the one time that all of the movement forces, including some part of the NAACP, joined with us in that great Birmingham confrontation, which brought us to the point where we could not only have a public accommodations bill, but gave us the foundation. It made our movement legitimate on the American scene, and then led to Selma to Montgomery, which brought about the Voting Rights Act, which changed the entire complexion of political activity in the South.
Is there a parallel unity today?
Well, you have a fragmentation. For instance, CORE went off the deep end in nationalism. They did not...
they didn't stay there. They went to right-wing republicanism after that.
Yes.
How did you let that happen?
I didn't let it happen. It happened after I'd left.
It was infiltrated.
It happened after McKissick, my successor.
Yes.
And now what do you feel? We have 30 seconds left. Gentlemen, optimism?
SCLC has been forced into being a regional organization. We do not really have a national civil rights movement.
No.
But the hope is that you do have local civil rights activities, which is very bright and very dynamic and very energetic. And that's the hope for tomorrow.
I suppose the hopeful note is reflected, repeated in your own thinking.
Yes, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we can get together now. The organizations don't have a sense of objective. We don't know where we're going specifically. And that's partly because we fail to have long-range planning.
Yes, I have said that the Achilles heel of our era, Jim, is that we were so optimistic that we did not train the next generation to take over for us when we passed off the scene.
Gentlemen, maybe this program today will help bring you back as examples and leaders. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jim Farmer, Dr. Wyatt T. Walker. Jim Farmer is gone now, too. Dr. Walker survives, as does the problem of race in America.